Hey Jay, can I ask you a question?
Sure, Mark. Far away.
How come Carter's always sliding around in Deep Blue Sea?
Wow.
And how come Preacher has a bird in the kitchen?
I think...
Should Janice have won an Oscar for all that exposition?
Yeah, I
Who
mean...
do the sharks hate the most?
If-
How far did Jim travel underwater?
About...
Why do they keep calling Brenda Tower?
Mark, please. We've already covered all of these topics and many, many more on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast.
You mean the podcast where we analyze Rennie Harlin's 1999 masterpiece, Deep Blue Sea, chapter by chapter?
Exactly. Find it everywhere podcasts can be found.
Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that just poured a bottle of champagne onto his arm and ripped it off and used it as a seatbelt. It's John Levingood. It's about you, bitch.
You know, you can't get through a Freddy movie without some kind of dismemberment in a way, or some kind of like weird slicing body reveal of Freddy on himself.
You're watching that scene in the car with Dan, and I've watched it a few times. I'm just going, why did he do that? Like, there's no, I guess he's just doing it for the gag, to have a seatbelt so he doesn't fly out of the car like Dan does, but then Dan just gets up and gets on a motorcycle, and then he becomes a Geiger creature.
Well, you know, it's like, yeah, we've talked about it a bit, but Freddy he has started to, after the first two movies, he really started to bask in his kills a little more. You know, he's now toying with his victims more. You know, movies 1 and 2, he's not toying with anyone. He's killing them. He might have a little fun and that might delay it, but I mean, he's not a cat pawing at a ball of yarn.
No.
He's basking in this like an overfed lizard on a hot rock in a teenager's terrarium. You know,
Yeah.
like Jabba the Hutt. Until he hoes himself to his own demise by not getting things done right away.
Yeah, it's just... And so after watching this, right, and I've really enjoyed our series. We did Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and now we're at Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. And, okay, I watched this again, and I just thought, what am I going to talk about? I was really worried, John. I just, you watch it, it's 90 minutes, it flies by, there's 3 deaths, they're good deaths.
Which is like an all-time low for a Freddy movie.
Yeah, super low on deaths, but it gets a while to get going, it really spends a lot of time in Freddy's mythology. But after researching it, I still like the kids involved. I mean, I know that they're one note, but I thought they were interesting enough or weird enough to enjoy. But after watching the Never Sleep Again documentary and then reading about this film, I mean, the director, who I'm actually a big fan of, his name is Stephen Hopkins, and he also did Predator 2, he did Judgment Night, Blown Away, Tales from the Crypt.
Reaping with Hilary Swank.
The Reaping, Ghost in the Darkness, Lost in Space. I mean, he's also won Emmys. I mean, this guy did 24. He's been crushing it in TV lately. Super capable director. I learned that the Never Sleep Again people loved him. And he started this movie on Valentine's Day and it was released in August without a script. So you go into this movie on February 14th and then released in August without a script. And the film, what I like most about it is and I've been reading a lot of the ranking lists. This is a really long-winded thing, but what I think is interesting about this movie is there's some really arresting visuals in it. The scene where Freddy is scared to go into the room and he looks freaked out and the door closes. That's a good shot.
Yeah.
And at the end with the alternating staircases, the way they shot that, very visually arresting, very interesting. The way some of the shots are bathed in shadow. I mean, you see that later in Judgment Night. The DP on this movie, Peter Levy, he also did Ricochet, Judgment Night, Blown Away, Broken Arrow, Lost in Space. He worked with Hopkins a lot, so they were comfortable. And the production designer had worked on Freddy 4 and 5, so she was familiar with the world. And so you had all these people making this $8 million movie, but they were good. I think the main flaw with this film is just the time it had to get done. Like this was rushed, and you feel it, but it still makes narrative sense, I guess. But it definitely it pinballs, I would say.
Right, yeah, it definitely feels rushed. It almost has all the makings of a movie that's poorly written, but each scene then got treated as if it was well written independently.
That's funny.
Because
yeah.
everyone cared. So each scene independently works really, really well. And I still like the finished product quite a bit, but it definitely falls way short of number 3.
Yeah.
And compared to number 4, it lacks all the fun and the death scenes that you look for in a Freddy movie, but it recaptures the gravity and insidiousness that you find in parts 1 and 3.
There's some mean stuff in here.
This is mean, but to me, it's less mean like part 3 was insidious, and it's more harrowing.
Yeah, I mean, the longer deaths, the way that, and a lot of them are cut because of the MPAA. And sorry, but the production designer is CJ Strawn, and she worked on 3, 4, and 5. So you had interesting looking sets. You had Howard Berger, Robert Kurtzman, Greg Nicotero, K&B working on this. And I love what you said. You had a poorly written script done by very capable people. It's an interesting dynamic, and that's really smart that you put it that way, because I kept seeing shots I liked, and I kept seeing very interesting, like the cinematographer sometimes handheld would like zoom in on someone's face or walk in, not zoom, and then back up like on the Steadicam and then get close to somebody else to really unsettle you. And I still I feel bad that Alice doesn't have as much to do in this. I liked her literally kicking Freddy in the face in the last one. And I thought I like Dan. He just seems like a nice, amiable guy. I liked the story about the dad. Like, how was AA? It was sobering. Like, I like that he becomes a decent dude. There's a weird Captain Ron sequence in this movie though, which is kind of weird. But there's not like, I have no ill will towards this movie. I really don't. I just think, because there's enough there that I appreciate, and I understand the time constraints. So that's kind of where we're at for me.
I like it a lot. I feel like we've talked about this with the other 2 movies as well. Like, none of these really had a relaxed schedule or much planning. They're all rushed. It's just that this seems to be the most bum-rushing rush of these Freddy movies, right? Because these movies came out in 3 subsequent years. They were 87, 88, 89. Because the first 2 were 84, 85. And even though 85 came quickly after, it had a very thoughtful idea. It was well composed, very controversial at the time. But then they had 2 years to part 3. Well, part 3 felt like a master, which was also sort of rushed.
They had time.
And came through all these different scripts, right? But still, like that felt like a masterpiece. And then 4 thrown together. This thrown together faster. I liked in Never Sleep Again. What really got me thinking about, a script written poorly where each individual scene was rewritten well. The character who plays Mark, the comic book artist, high schooler, right? He was saying like how his character had very little time on screen to convince the audience that he was in love with Greta, our model character. And that's true, because when you watch it, they do very little to justify that. At one point,
I'm going to wear her down.
But when they're first graduating, they're just a bunch of friends almost. Maybe there's the lightest flirtation. When they're at the pool party, she's playing with his hair, right? Him specifically, but I guess, the other guy's taken, Dan. And then later, we're kind of finding out a vocal, admission of how much he cared about her. Was he wearing her down from graduation day, by the way?
Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna wear her down eventually, and then he gets, Yvonne, right? He just starts yelling at Yvonne. That one scene, he just yells at her. He's like, actually, I'm sorry. This is tough.
Right. That was a lot of emotional transition in about 14 seconds.
But what I like about him though is the performance is weird enough, and his wardrobe was weird enough to at least make the kid personable. There are some, I don't like horror characters that don't register at all on screen. So in horror movies, I'm not looking for Kramer versus Kramer levels of character development. I just want to see, is this person interesting? right? There are like, so I love Scream 4. I think I love the idea of Scream 4. I think Kirby's good, the original characters, but some teenagers that are in it, I feel like they barely register on screen to me. Mm-hmm. I don't remember them. I don't remember any of their names, but I kind of remember Mark. I remember Dan. I guess I remember the Alice. For some reason, I remember these kids. And so despite some of the writing flaws in there, they register, at least to me, as not even interesting, not well written. Does that make sense? They're memorable.
Yeah, and you even mentioned Alice, how Alice has less to do. This is one of those things, too, where I've always said how if you don't watch these movies in reasonably close succession, they feel like rather emptier movies to you. So if you hadn't seen Part 4 in, I don't know, 2, 3, 5 years, even a big horror fan, how often do you really see 4 and then 5 in a close, reasonable period of time, unless you marathon it? But not everyone does that, right? I think a lot of people will forget when in the beginning of the movie that Alice was dating Dan, was interested in Dan through all of Part 4, and that at the end of Part 4, they were two survivors, and that they are the two that were connected. And the way the dialogue comes out when she brings up that she had a dream, and Dan said, "Oh, what, with that Freddy guy? You don't believe that he's been there with her through this before."
Oh, yeah.
In that scene, if you just saw this movie years after seeing the first Freddy movie, or the Part 4, you would totally forget and still not realize that he was in the previous movie. You would not understand their relationship. And then it wouldn't feel like there's as much gravity when she's pregnant, because they aren't just a teen couple at the end of one movie and then at the beginning of the next. They went through the holy hell of holy hells, that the traumatic event that brings people together, like romantically, right? Like an action movie does as well. The movie does fail to do that. It fails to properly remind you of that the way Part 4 does to its connection to Part 3. So, and then all these other teenagers, it's almost like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 with respect to Part 1. These other teenagers don't have any idea that there was anything that ever happened with a bunch of kids dying just the previous year in their same high school, right? It's like it didn't happen, and only Dan and Alice know, but Dan isn't even selling it well in those 2 lines, or not Dan, but the writing. Yeah. So this is why if you don't see these movies very fast along, it weakens all of the links in the chain. And then moreover, Alice feels less important in Part 5 unless you remember what her role was in Part 4, and that when she sees infant Freddy crawling along in that church, that's the very church where she defeated him at the end of Part 4. Again, something that you probably wouldn't remember. Yeah. If you could have seen each of these movies 5 times in 20 years. If you didn't see them in close succession, I think most people wouldn't get it. But if you've ever seen them in close succession once, you probably have it, right? This is a tricky thing. I say it over and over again. It brings me back to Saw 4 to 6. It's another really tight, and even 3 to 6, to be honest. They're all really tightly knit, and actually all of the Saws ultimately end up being closely knit. So they're movies that shouldn't be watched far apart. Final Destinations, you can watch them in any order you want.
Yeah.
And they're great. And once you've seen all 5 of them, you realize how they're connected. Even if you saw 1 and then 4 and then 3 and then 2 and then 5, you still realize, oh, 5's connected to 1. I get it now.
And listen to our series, too, by our Final Destination series. That was a lot of fun. I dug that.
That was a lot of fun. But yeah, so this is I feel like the writing's weak, but everyone brought it for each scene, right? And then on top of that, though, if you saw Part 4 right before Part 5, I think you're going to get a lot of value added, as opposed to, what's going on in this kind of thrown together horror movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Were you still going?
No, I'm done. You go. Take it.
I guess for me, the dad throws in, I'd love to have another boy running in here. And I was like, oh, yeah, because her brother just died.
Right. Another thing lost if you didn't see Part 4 recently.
Exactly. And I guess for me, this is where it took a step back. And it's in, Nightmare 4, right? Nightmare 3, all the kids know, right? All the kids are hip to Freddy. It's just the adults who are the pain in the butt. So
because Freddy was a pre-existing condition before the running time started.
And so these kids, they're not arguing with each other. This is real. This is fake. They know the stakes, right? So you don't have these scenes where they have to explain everything and they're like, no, that's not true. And then you get to 4 and Kincaid is still alive. So these people know what's going on. Dan and these other people are kind of down to just roll and help. They really do. They're down to help. But in this one, it's just Alice explaining to Yvonne and Greta and Mark, and then they're just not believing him. It's fine. It's just a coincidence. It's this. It's that. And you're like, oh no! Like I miss the teamwork dynamic. That's what.
And they even pulled the thing that you normally do in a movie when no one knows, where Mark comes in with all this research from the local library.
Yeah.
And someone's like, whatever. Everyone's like, whatever. Knocks it to the ground.
Yeah, it's just going through that again after watching these back to back, and then just having her not be believed. You're just kind of thinking, why go here again? Does that make sense?
Right. They're spinning the sequel wheels.
Yeah. And let me tell you something, John. You and I are in high school. We get attacked by Freddy. We go tell our classmates. They're not going to believe us either. So I'm not saying it's horribly out of the mix that these kids would not believe Alice, but the audience knows. And so the audience is just listening to this character explain to these kids, her friends, and they're not believing her. And you're just like, oh, come on. Like, give me more baby Freddy.
At the same time, Mark, let's say you and I are jocks, and we're not the one jock who was involved in Nightmare on Elm Street 4, right?
The nice
Dan?
one. We're the jock
jocks?
jocks?
We're the jerk jocks. But someone else is like, hey, Mark and John, this dream demon is killing people. It's killed Greta. It killed Mark. And we're like, whatever. And then they say, but hold on. Remember last year in high school where 5 of our classmates died in very eerie deaths in the span of 4 days? And then at least you have something to springboard off of, but that's treated as if it doesn't exist.
Yeah, they never bring that up.
Right, it's treated like it doesn't exist. And I'm not going to call that a flaw for what we know about how rushed this movie was. I'm sure that people, the director, any writers involved were thinking, well, how do we bring this together? But they're so worried just about their brass tacks scenes, right? Your money shots, if you will.
Yes.
And then just stitching them together that they're horrified of the notion of trying to add extra scenes to link the exposition. And they didn't say that at any point in the making of, but I feel like it's a fair read between the lines that they're just trying to make this shooting schedule work.
And I love what Hopkins had to say about it. Hopkins, he just said, I watch it. I remember now what I was doing. Remember so the producers loved him. The head of Dimension, right? Or New Line, Bob Shea, loved him. The actors all had really nice stuff to say about him. But I loved him. He was like, I would never do that again. He's like, I was everywhere, supervising every different shot. And they were building sets while they were shooting. And but that's why they hire these young kids that they can work to death as directors. But that's a problem, though. You hire a young kid who is stretched thin with an incomplete script. A lot is not going to be covered. Because like you said, he's just trying to hit the day. They're trying to hit the deadline. They're trying to get it done. So, you know what's weird? It's like, I don't blame anybody. I know maybe to make money a year later, but I think it's interesting that when the movie, they said it flopped, and Englund said it still made decent money. It just didn't make blockbuster money. It
just didn't make nearly as much as Part 4.
Exactly. Right? And remember in Never Sleep Again, all the conflicts on set taking too long and the frustrations with the director and people arguing back and forth. And then the frustrations on 4. Bob Shea was the biggest Rennie Harlan fan. They threw in a lot of crazy scenes. People didn't quite know what they were doing. But this one seems more rushed, but it also seems more harmonious. But it also, I would say it's the weakest of the 3. But it's really, I don't know. Everyone seems a lot of people don't really like it that much, but there's no blame being pushed at anybody. It's a really interesting dynamic for me. I
will say
it's his fault.
I agree that it's probably the weakest, in my opinion as well. But I gotta say, 3 to 5 each bring their own very unique flavor. And I don't mean like that Part 4 is the MTV generation movie, because they're just separated by a year, all these movies, right? But I think it's more that, again, 3 is insidious. It's mean. It's cruel. Part 4 is fun. This is the electric horror movie.
The cockroach weightlifter.
And then part 5, while it's mean, it's not the same kind of mean at all. And even though Freddy does many times, which he doesn't do so much in the other movies, taunt new victims with the death of the previous victims, like he does with Greta. Very different from what he did with Tina in part 1. That was really just more device, so much as rather than a taunt. Mm-hmm. You didn't even know what he was yet. I think that this is more about the emotionally harrowing aspect. It's looking more at the emotional response to a situation rather than the emotional torment of being victimized by Freddy. He's trying to torment you in ways that don't even have to do with victimizing you. Here's Greta. Look at what I did to her. He's not making a needle addict a victim of needles and her death in part 3. He's not taking someone who's handicapped and killing him with a wheelchair. Right? Yeah. He's not doing those things. Although he almost does it to Mark and only Mark, which is kind of weird with Super Freddy in the comic book scenario. But most of his kills in this are just kills. And so we don't see that the model is bulimic or anorexic. We just know that she needs to watch what she eats. She seems perfectly healthy. She doesn't seem she doesn't seem tormented by it. Her mother heckles her when she tries to have a lollipop, but this doesn't feel as insidious when he's approaching it. It's the harrowing of the mocking of, this is Greta who I just killed, and oh, you love her.
Yeah.
And this is Greta who I just killed, and your dad just did the sweet thing by buying healthy food because now you're a mother, Alice, and now in your refrigerator, that nice thought just got bastardized with Greta coming out the refrigerator. Greta gets a lot of mileage out of Freddy.
Right? So does her makeup.
But then just everything else, right? The dad, can't give her the satisfaction of being visually present at the graduation because he has shame and guilt about his past alcoholism. And she just wanted to see him there. She's happy he's there, right? And then later, when Dan's parents show up, this is emotionally harrowing, the pounding that you take when you understand where they're coming from, but you feel badly for both sides of the situation. When you see the birth scene that she's nightmaring that later shifts into Amanda Kreuger giving birth to Freddy. And he's monstrous, and they do every good job they can to make a deformed child look monstrous.
Great, a very good-looking practical dummy.
But that is, again, harrowing is the word. That Amanda Kreuger will eventually pull that child towards her because it is her horrible burden to recontain him, to pull him back into her towards the end of the movie. That's harrowing. Like, these things, you don't feel awesome like there's a victory happening when these things are happening. You're seeing the evil genie put back into the bottle, but there's no parade. There's no fireworks. You're kind of quiet when you watch these things happen. You're not laughing. You're not rooting for people. You just sit there quietly. When Freddy is tearing himself out of Alice later, that's unnerving. It's pretty cool. It looks awesome.
And when Dan dies, that's the father of her child, and he was a likable guy. And so that's not even... His death is I mean, it's pretty insane, but then she has to deal with the aftermath of that and his parents. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot more harrowing aspects in this. Yeah, you're right.
Again, some people might say it's mean. It's not. Again, it's not even the same universe as Part 3.
Yeah,
it's not mean with the same intention. It's not mean with the same motive. It's just mean because it happens to result in people suffering. But it's not. There's not the same. I don't even know how to put it. There's not the same vertex of intent. So it's a weird movie, and because of that, I think it's still actually a very good sequel in this franchise. It's just that You want to rewatch part 4 all the time because it's a roller coaster. You want to rewatch part 3 all the time because the kills are so creative. Kills aren't really that creative in this one, in my opinion.
No.
And they are fewer in number. But this is reveling in the mythology, which we didn't get any of in part 4 that was initiated in part 3. It's building on that a lot. We have these gothic scenes of this castle,
beautiful castle,
multiple shots, right, of this again castle, it's like playing Castlevania when you're on Nintendo in the late 80s, early 90s, whatever it was. This is what you picture in your head instead of that 8-bit graphic when you go in to see the vampire. These gorgeous
the black and white set. They didn't even make it black and white, right? The black and white set, they just painted it black and white. And then added him in color.
Oh, yeah, for Mark.
Very smart, very visually arresting. This sounds controversial, John, but I would watch this before 3 again. And 3's clearly the better one, but it's more harrowing to me. I don't want to watch Taryn die over and over. So for me, I think this is the best looking, actually, of the 5. I love some of these shots. I was showing Megan some of the shots. Just look at that. Look at that. Look at it. Stop, Mark. But just look at the fear on his face, and then the door closes. Look at this gothic area. Look at this set that they built. Look at the way they're shooting this right now. The way they're blocking this. The way this, that, and the other. I think it's the most visually arresting. So it's not better than 3, but I would watch it before 3 because 3 just hits me hard, man. I don't know. There's something about the death of those kids that I just don't want to watch much.
It is, again, it's mean.
Yeah.
It's so mean.
And so I'd rather do harrowing than mean.
I think that if it's me by myself, I might agree. If it's me trying to get a pedestrian horror fan to watch one of them, boy, well, I don't know between those two. I think I'd be going to 4.
Yeah. I mean, these kids are just watching, in 3, they're watching their friends die.
Yeah.
And the movie makes it gets so mean that it gives them confidence, and then Freddy's just toying with them. When they think I'm bad and I'm cool, or I'm this wizard, I can fight you, they're nothing against him. And so he gives them hope, and then he kills them horribly. It's just so mean. Ugh. But this one, man, I wish if I had more time, I would just go through and make my 10 favorite GIFs, or GIFs, whatever you want to call them, from this, because never before in a Freddy film have I, maybe in New Nightmare, have I wanted to pause it and just admire the shot. There are, I love that black and white set. I love the gothic area. I love that there's sprawling sets in this one, John. They have, there's a scene, it looks like they're on the Bond stage in Pinewood in England, that final one with all the steps. That's a gigantic set they're on. So
Escher Labyrinth.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I think it looks good. I think they were put under the gun, but this crew that they had, they made a very good looking movie. So yeah, I mean, can you think of any scenes you'd want to pause through 5 that you just think, wow, that's a good looking shot?
So purely for the visual, right? It's not so much as like a GIF moment, if you will, but just a single moment, literally a moment. A
screenshot.
Right. Yeah, that's tough. Even though I can think of things that have a lot of impact, they have impact because of what you see before and or after.
This one has it. And you know what? Maybe I'll try to go through and pull some shots from it that I love.
Even the hospital hallways, or should I say the asylum hallways, even though they're actually very basic sets. But when you add the counter directionally swinging lights,
yes,
and it's like you see 4 or 5 lights, and every even one is swinging one direction, every odd one is swinging the opposite direction. Well, even though the camera is rather steady as you're going down the hallway at a rapid pace, it seems chaotic because of the movement of the lights.
Exactly.
And it's visually impactful. Again, but otherwise, it's a very basic hallway with just repetitive stone arches, almost no features, right? Mm-hmm. But that works really well. Even that kind of thing sticks in my head. The birthing scene where that kind of medical room, that filthy every time I see it, I stop and think that to myself. That is filthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and a lot of the credit, I think, goes to Hopkins because he came at this movie with a lot of storyboards. So I adore Rennie Harlan. And you know I do. I have a podcast about Deep Blue Sea. It's just, I don't think I think he thinks in terms of set pieces and action. I don't know if he speaks in terms of visuals. And I think Hopkins, I mean, we just did an episode about Judgment Night and the way he frames things in shadow. And a lot of he uses widescreen. So he shoots an inner city movie almost as a Western. And he uses shadows to paint. That's part of his cinematographer as well, his gaffer and like all that crew. But he storyboarded this. So at the end so CJ Strawn, she was stressed out with her set designs, but she had these visuals that were beautiful that she could go off of. So even though they were in a hurry, they had a very clear idea of what they needed. So in this film, they never end up with an invisible room, a room where there's invisible karate with an invisible villain.
Right.
This is a room where there's none of that. And I think visually, with a script on the fly, I don't know. I dig. Like, this is my favorite looking, I would say. I mean, the first one, listen, is beautiful. The spinning room, Freddy walking with the long arms, that gag. I don't know. This is the one I'd do the screenshots off of for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but so Megan and I went on a walk today, and I was talking to her about this and how, I reached out and we'll do some questions after the break when we come back, because I was like, what am I going to talk about? But the more that I've researched this, I guess it's a scrappy crew who had a very tight turnaround and an unfinished script, but they're all good at what they did. And this is the result. I mean, it's less than ideal, but you can't compare this to a movie that has been gestating for 10 years and finally gets made. You can't compare this to a horror sequel that has 2 years to prep. Like, so you just got to take it at face value. And I guess what it is, it's good. I mean, it's fine. It's maybe oversaturated, what they said was the problem. But yeah, for what they have. So my respect for this movie comes from the scrappy crew of young people who never slept that made some very arresting visuals.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. And for all the visuals you say, I actually will say, though, I think that the lows, you got the highs and lows of the visuals. I think that the lows are lower than parts 3 and 4. It's just that the highs are what you notice. Mm-hmm. When they painted everything black and white when Freddy's in the warehouse, if you were to just pause it on some of that, it's a super basic set.
Yeah.
Right. It's basic even for the basic sets that we find in Nightmare on Elm Street movies, like going through some of the dirty halls of the 1423 Elm Street house, which you don't notice because someone's running through it as much. But there are some very basic aspects here. But again, the highs, this Victorian Gothic hospital on a stormy night every time you see it. These hallways. Yeah. Even
the scale of some of the sets.
Right. So I think that the lows are lower. Part of the slapdash time frame too, like you said, building the sets as you go, just make this work and focus on Freddy. You film it close ups, you mostly see Freddy, but the scene is there for you to understand what's happening most of the time, right? But then when you have your highs, the highs are higher. When we had Greta at the dinner table, at the dinner party with her mother and their friends, I'm sure that was channeling Beetlejuice.
I was about to say that. Absolute Beetlejuice.
Right. The attire and the pretension of the people at this table, it just bled Beetlejuice, which just came out 3 or 4 years earlier, 86, I want to say, and this is 89. The mother even had a dash of Catherine O'Hara, just without any of the character. The sullen Greta on the other end. And Robert Englund is the waiter. You only see the lower half of his face. And then later it's Freddy. And that was magnificent. I heard that was apparently from Never Sleep Again, that was a very drawn out. And MPAA just made them curtail it a lot. Even the actress was saying she doesn't even remember what it was. It was so taxing doing the scenes over and over again with all that makeup. Yeah. But she vaguely remembers that there was a lot more, and
she was being fed to herself. Like he cut open her gut and was feeding it to her,
and it got more brutal than they showed. Even though it is kind of macabre and unnerving, that jarring look of her distended cheeks and the food's erupting, out, and she has her eyes are just expressing a perpetual, like, a panic, fear, horror. It works really well, but I wish we had that little bit more. I hope maybe they didn't have the budget also to clean everything up. I'm not sure if it was just the MPAA. I would have loved to see more there. But that scene, for example, just her looking down the dinner table, and you don't even see her because it's her POV. That's a pause moment for me, as you're mentioning pause moments. And and there's no action happening. There's no killing happening. There's no like huge scape to be seen, but the table. And yet that's one for me. And they even do those shots that are very Poltergeist. In Poltergeist, when the wall tears away and it kind of creates kind of a vortex that would suck Jo Beth Williams, the mother, into it, right when it was near bedtime. And it looks like, I don't know, the esophagus of a giant monster, if you will, that she would go down. We see that in this movie. In this movie, it's obviously probably a birth canal, right, because of the theme of the movie. But we see these birth canal-like shots over and over again. And again, those are very impactful. You wonder what you're going down because it clearly looks biological.
Yeah. It looks great.
When they had the opportunity to, they very much compensated for the weaknesses of the film.
In my notes, I always capitalize things that I want to get out later. So, like in the warehouse he's in, I dug. It looked super cheap, but I dug the jagged edges around various areas. You could see these kind of jagged, pointed edges. I thought that was pretty impressionistic and pretty cool. I also have funky camera work, which I've already covered. But then I also wanted to talk about and I also have neat builds on the sets. So yeah, I keep writing the same thing over and over in my notes here. So I must have loved these thoughts. I don't know if you ever do that with your notes. Remember later.
Absolutely. Like, I actually put Greta in all caps.
Yeah, solid practical effects.
Before a couple of notes.
I like the dad. I like his arc in this. So yeah, man. All right, how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will talk more A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. We will be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And I reached out on Movies, Films, and Flicks Facebook for some questions from our fans, from other podcasters, from readers, from writers, and we got some really interesting questions that we have here, John. So I'm going to read these out. So we got one from Dan Allen Sr., where he asks, what's your favorite Freddy kill in the series? I think mine is when he kills the kid in the video game and Freddy's dead. And so this is a huge fan.
You mean the Power Glove?
Yeah. And so that's what he loves, and he sent me a clip for it. But yeah, his favorite is when Freddy. I mean, it's obviously the cheeky one, but so like the hipster pick is the spinning room from the first one, but it's still, for me, it's Taryn from Dream Warriors, man. It's the meanest. It's mean. It's the most effective. And I don't know if you know me, man. Like I watch a lot of horror movies, but I don't like the ones that are just killing for killing's sake. If you're going to kill someone in a horror movie, you should feel it. It should be like Thirst or I Saw the Devil. It shouldn't be pretty. And so it shouldn't be... that's most of Final Destination, but I like those movies. But for me, Taryn has really stuck with me because how mean it was. He gave her hope, and then he killed her with a drug overdose or whatever, the equivalent of that. It's just mean.
So for me, if we're saying death scene, I'm going to say that Taryn is my favorite death. Right? That 2 seconds, if you will. But the whole scene, I mean, I got to go with what we were talking about last month.
Cockroach.
The roach scene.
Yes.
The roach scene. It incorporates weightlifting and it's a glorious weightlifting and entomology are the themes of this. I mean that and it's not even because of that, because I've loved this death scene before that, but it's just such this drawn out, like, double death scene / transformation creature scene. And it's gory,
and
which
squishy.
most of his deaths aren't.
And squishy.
Right?
Yep.
And it's gory, it's squishy. There's slimy, squishy gooiness. But is it true? And I didn't even think about it until like just now, though. Like, it's got entomology and weightlifting. And if you just threw in a craft beer, you got most of the aspects that make my life there.
That's amazing. We never even covered that. And I think that's probably my second favorite because you're like, oh, the wait's going to kill her. Like, it's going to decapitate her, rip her arms off. But then she becomes a cockroach.
But, the irony there, though, is that the actual death at the end, I don't really care about. He just squeezes the thing and some goo comes out.
Yeah.
So whereas Taron, I'm less impressed with the buildup of the death scene. But, oh, my God, the death itself that is the climax of the death scene. I'm with you. Because that's horrifying. And it's not just because I have a needle phobia. It's that aside that he used that weakness against her. And in her case, her weakness was most viciously exploited compared to, in my opinion, the other people in that movie.
Evil.
Yeah, but yeah. So for you, Taron. For me, I can't think of her name now.
The weightlifter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's escaped me as well.
But yeah, the roach weightlifter death from Part 4.
Love it. All right. Abby Cook asks, how is everyone at lucid dreaming? How good do you think you would be at shaping the dream you want it to have the upper hand?
I mean, for me, I my whole life I've actually been a very tortured sleeper, very unfortunately so. It's created a lot of problems for me in my life. Only as I've gotten older, I've gotten better. But yeah, I'm a terrible sleeper. So if you don't sleep deeply, you generally either don't remember your dreams or your dreams are less lucid. And so my sleep is usually more punctuated. So my dreams are extremely fleeting. They're fragmented memories, even if it's right when I wake up and it's as fresh in my head as it's going to be. So with that in mind, I suppose I would be in the least control and Freddy would mess with me the most. And worse yet, I'd keep waking up and falling asleep and he'd get to re-torment me, and I might reach that stage where I don't know if I'm awake or asleep because I'm insomniatic because I can hardly sleep. I feel like I'd be one of those early deaths in the movie.
Yeah.
that set the tone for how vile Freddy's going to be in this Freddy movie. Because I'm a terrible sleeper.
Oof. All right, that's it. Okay, I don't dream much, right? But I do have these weird dreams where I'm running from things. So zombies or vampires or
how fast
like
are the zombies?
Guns, like fast. Everything's fast.
But for some
reason I keep, like, I've never died in a dream. Like, I just keep running. I keep finding ways to escape. Like, I pull a clear and present danger and just move. So like, I'm like Maze Runner, the second one, running from the zombies. Just keep going. And I have much better cardio in my dreams than I do in real life. So that's a good thing. So that could actually help me. So I know Freddy likes to lock people in and mess with them. But I don't know. In my dreams, I keep escaping from things. Like, I keep running. It's not like, I don't think it's a subconscious thing for me to run away. I love my life. But for some reason, I just love zombies and I love monsters. So I think I just dream about trying to escape them. I mean, I love Escape from New York. I love Big Trouble in Little China. You're trying to go to something. So I don't dream much. But my best, I don't think I would ever go for the upper hand against Freddy because that's pointless. I would just try to move. That's what I would do. I would move until there's nowhere else to move. So I guess that it wouldn't work, but I wouldn't try to Home Alone Freddy in a dream. I would just run. I would, Chariots of Fire it.
You can only Home Alone Freddy when you're awake, like Nancy did.
Exactly. Hit him in the balls with a sledgehammer. No, I love that question. Thank you, Abby. That was a lot of fun. So then we have Lisa. She asks, what's your favorite Freddy wisecrack? Also, this one I like a lot. Which Freddy is scarier? Nightmare Freddy versus pulled into the real world Freddy who gets home alone. I added that. Versus meta Freddy a la New Nightmare. And then there's one more. What'd she have? Oh, that's it. So Nightmare Freddy, real world Freddy, or meta Freddy?
I'm going to say Meta Freddy. Yeah, I haven't seen that in a while. That's probably the movie that I've seen the least, but also because it was one of the newer ones. That and Freddy vs. Jason I've seen the least. But I just remember him, we joke, we call him a dream demon.
Yeah.
We call him a dream demon. And that one, he actually felt like a demon.
He's a demon.
And the other ones, he feels like a spirit that came back and is just mean. And that, he felt like a damn Constantine demon.
Exactly. I'm with you. We could Home Alone real world Freddy. Nightmare Freddy, he's just the gags, right? So I'm looking at this as an audience member, not someone being hunted. But as an audience member, it's just Freddy doesn't become scary anymore. I don't believe, in the later sequels. I think the concept of him is
this is
scary.
the last one. I think 5 is the last one where he has a moment of scary. And part 4 he wasn't scary.
And I just think this meta one of this demon that was awakened and kind of feeds off of that he wrote about, that's scary. Like that's this ancient demon that was awoken. Like that gets me. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And then also of hers, what's your favorite wisecrack?
Oh. Gosh, okay.
How about some
not
soul
you can
food?
check in, but you can't check out. Honestly, not no pain, no gain when he kills our weightlifter girl in part 4. I don't even remember what it was, but he said something about the soul meatball pizza.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And
How about some soul food?
How sweet fresh meat.
Yeah, how sweet.
That's what it was. How sweet fresh meat. And I think that was when he stabbed the poor meatball head, right? And he's like, no! And he eats it in front of her.
Yeah.
I think it's probably that one.
That's what's got to be Welcome to Prime Time, bitch, because it's so mean.
That's a great one. You know another one?
It's so mean.
Wanna suck face.
Yeah, and he just destroys her.
The
that
girl
prime
would never
time,
kiss
though.
anybody.
Yeah, that prime time. Ugh, it's so mean. Yeah, that suck face.
Welcome to
that's
Prime,
mean too.
actually, now that you brought it up, though, I think Welcome to Prime Time, bitch, might actually be my favorite. Because it's all in the delivery.
Yeah. It's so mean, dude. It's just, this poor girl is suffering, and he says that to her.
And I believe that was ad-libbed.
Yeah, that's like this one
I have
line,
to listen
right?
to our podcast to remember if that was ad-libbed or not.
The problem with this, I do so many episodes, and I do so much research that I kind of like lose. I have to make room for other stuff in there. It's like a refrigerator. We have to get rid of some of the older food.
On your way home from the grocery store one day.
Yeah. All right, I love it. Now, I probably would do that. So out of this is from Nathan LaHaye, a frequent podcast guest. He has an episode of The Prophecy coming out soon. He's also done The Fallen and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and we got a Joe Dirt one upcoming, so that'll be fun. So out of the series, who is the one person you wish had survived? And Nathan said Kincaid.
He said what?
Kincaid.
He said Kincaid. I don't agree. That wouldn't be my pick, is what I mean. Not I don't agree. So you can have your
You're
pick,
wrong.
Nathan. Yeah, wrong. No.
I want Dan. I know it like takes away the sadness of the character, but
I mean, he survived part 4.
Yeah.
Everyone
just insults him though. Like a lot of the reviews I read or people talking about him, like the jock, but I'm like, he's a pretty nice dude.
You know what's interesting though? You could have had his exact death scene as they presented it in this movie, and then had him survive.
Yeah.
Like if for some reason Freddy was distracted by something about Nancy, like that Alice was doing, and he got called away at the last moment, and maybe that swerve, right? Because in this movie, by the way, we see that they aren't dying when Freddy seems to kill them in the dream, or at least they're depicting it in a lag. Normally, when you see Freddy kill someone in a dream, the next shot is them dead or them wounded to death.
Yeah, he wakes up yelling in this, doesn't he?
Whereas in this, in Greta, you see her actively choking. Hypothetically, she could have been saved.
Yep.
So the delivery of the death seems a little different here. So I wonder, maybe you could have shown us all the thing you did with this Tetsuo the Iron Man death, if anyone knows that Japanese bonkers movie from like, I think 1986 also. Or not also, but just, I was referring to the area Beetlejuice earlier. But yeah, Tetsuo the Iron Man is what I think of. They mentioned H.R. Geiger, but that's a Tetsuo the Iron Man transformation. Like specifically, which may or may not have also been inspired by Geiger, I guess.
Oh,
but yeah,
research it, John.
That, and then he could have like been in a coma, and then they could have defeated Freddy, and he could have come out of it.
Yeah,
you could have spared, or whatever. He was just in a full body cast. Something you didn't need to kill him. He just happened to be killed. I kind of think that's a good call. I feel like I'm going to answer this with the reverse. I think that we should have killed Yvonne.
Really? I kept waiting for her to die. Like, falling asleep in a jacuzzi. And then she goes and busts through a wall and finds the mom. Like, that was such a pleasant surprise to me.
But we could have just had Alice do that.
Yeah.
And it would have been more meaningful if Alice did that. And here's something funny too. In my memory of seeing this only occasionally and much less often than parts 3 or 4 or 1, in my memory, she died by diving into an empty pool.
Yeah, like she dove into a weird, like she was gonna dive into like what did Freddy become?
What happened was, first it pulled the Evil Dead 2 bent up bridge of his claws on the diving board. And when she dove, she ended up then going through a puddle at the bottom of a cruddy pool. And then she ended up in that kind of boiler room water pit, which then he didn't want to leave because he was kind of repelled by it because it was the hallways of Amanda Kreuger's demise.
Yeah.
So, but I felt, her character had her importance. She delivered her important segues. I don't think it helped the movie that she lived. It wasn't necessary for her to do that. Again, Alice could have done that. That could have been another death. Some people criticize movies just for lack of number of deaths. So my reverse answer is that she should have died. If I'm sparing someone, oh gosh, if I'm sparing someone though, that's tough. It's really tough to spare someone. I don't know how I'd make it work in the movie, but I want to spare her brother Rick in part 4.
Yeah, he was a good kid.
I don't know how to spare him though and make the movie work. Part of me would also want to spare her dad. I'm sorry, Nancy's dad in part 3.
Yeah.
Like he stabs him and then all of a sudden he demanifests. And I felt like he could have just been very wounded in that struggle and then at the end been reunited with Nancy. I think that would have been a very acceptable and satisfying survival because his death didn't feel exciting. It was just a stab to the gut.
And an invisible karate fight.
And then he goes, rah, 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 and he raises his hands in the air like the bad guy just beat you in the video game, and then he disappears. So I lean more that way. But again, I'd like to reverse it. I'd like to take out Yvonne. I'd like to give her a slightly more worthy finish to that death scene that was very well started. I'd go that way.
I love it. All right, and then his other one, which I really like. What's another Freddy-verse matchup that you'd like to see? And what other horror icon do you think would have the best chance at defeating Kreuger? And so Nathan and Lisa actually had a great conversation about this, where Nathan, I asked him what he wanted. And
Can
Nathan,
I guess what he said?
What? Yeah.
Can I guess what he said?
Sure.
Did he go with the over and over again requested online for a decade Ash versus Freddy versus Jason?
No, he went with Pinhead.
Ooh, okay.
And so he put, I think Kreuger would get his ass handed to him. And then Lisa asked Nathan, yes, Kincaid, and she wrote, that would be an interesting matchup with or without Cenobites. And Nathan replied, Cenobites are sure. Freddy wouldn't have a fair one-on-one fight. He would use any aspect he has. So having the whole gang would definitely be acceptable to me. Wonderful conversation between these two. And I think, okay, let's say the box is there. Let's say this, that, and the other. But let's say there's just a yada yada device where Pinhead and his crew are hunting Freddy. I want to see...
Basically, Hellbound Hellraiser, because that breaks a lot of rules. And you have the Cenobites versus the Dr. Chenard Cenobite.
Yeah, so give me that. And just give me Freddy scared. Like, I love Bruce. I love the idea of Freddy battling an aloof character like a Jack Burton or a Ash and just... losing because they're idiots, but they're also very tough, right? I like that idea. But I want to see Freddy scared. And I think Freddy, once he realizes what he's up against with these people and what they represent and what they want, in the script I'm writing in my head, John, not according to Pinhead, Hellraiser lore, but just he tries to scare somebody and what's that little chatter comes up to him?
Oh, Chatterbox.
Yeah, it
the
just
Chatterer.
sees that. Yeah, the chat sees him or sees the Leviathan or just. I want Freddy scared, and I don't want Freddy like a Revenant type movie where they're just hunting him through dream worlds. That's what I want.
It's interesting that was brought up because I can almost see Freddy as being someone like a Frank in the first Hellraiser movie.
Oh yeah,
and not because he's literally skinless. But What if he was someone who just found a slightly different connection to our plane of existence outside of hell, right? Frank found that through blood at the site of his death, or at the site of his remains, right? But what if Freddy just found a different way? And that's why it's weakened sometimes, his connection to this plane of existence. Just like Frank relies on flesh to consume, almost vampirically, if you will, right? But in a more physical covering sense. But this Freddy, what if Freddy is, again, another damn soul, well, which makes sense he is, found a way to reconnect to the real world, was using it to exact his vengeance, and or, especially in this movie, find a way to exist once again through Alice's child. And then the Cenobites learn that someone is escaping their eternity, painful ecstasy in which they revel so much. And so maybe it makes sense that they'd come for him. And it would probably make sense that he'd be damn terrified of them, because they are like the high priests and or the Judge Dredds of this plane, of this dimension.
The hunters from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Who are these guys? They just keep coming.
I think you could actually write this where it makes sense in a Clive Barker narrative. And all these shenanigans Freddy are doing, and they all fall into it. Again, he just found a different conduit. His conduit was dreams, not physical blood, not the manipulation of mortals to bring you sacrifices of blood, but instead the manipulation of mortals through their dreams and weaknesses to give you power that way, right? Or their souls, or what have you. I think that's really cool, and you can bend that a lot of ways. I mean, you can just go with a versus thing if you want it to be, or you can tie it right into, in my opinion, directly into the mythology, at least of the second Hellraiser movie, which opens it up so much.
Well, how do you think?
That's pretty neat.
I love it. Yeah, Nathan crushed it. And we have one more from him, but I just want to ask a question. How do you think the red lipstick demon, what would Freddy's reaction to the red lipstick demon be in the further?
So, okay, I'm going to say something, and this has nothing to do with liking one more than the other, first off. I'm not picking favorites. But I feel that the red lipstick demon is a much weaker entity. I feel that the lipstick demon is predating a child who doesn't know better, who doesn't have defenses up. I feel like it doesn't have a lot of tricks in its bag. It can possess, perhaps. It can take a soul. But I feel like for what we see in the movie, it might be horrendously menacing to the family it's tormenting. But I feel like this is either a lower tier or a less practiced, less experienced demon or insidious spirit than a Freddy. I feel like Freddy's better practiced. But you see, if I use Freddy from the first movie, I'd put them on very equal ground. But Freddy's skill set really has evolved by this movie. And we only ever see the lipstick demon other than, I think, a flash in part 2 or 3.
And one. And then he goes into his lair in the first one where he's caved himself out his own area that even the other further things don't go to.
Right. But so again, it's not picking a favorite. I just feel with the skill set we observe in the movie, I feel like Freddy, well, by now anyway, has a deeper skill set. He is better at manipulating his further now.
Yeah. No, yeah. I get it. I just want to see Freddy scared. And I just want to see Freddy seeing the red lipstick demon for the first time as a newbie demon.
But I'll say this, though. Even if I'm correct in my made-up narrative, right, that Freddy, because we're talking about Part 5, that Freddy in Part 5 is a more powerful evil entity than the lipstick demon, I still think he'd be terrified. Because if you have a bully with a black belt, and he's pushing around kids that are 2 grades younger than him and they're smaller than him and none of them ever went to a martial arts class, I think that if you had someone 1 grade lower than him with a green belt, all of a sudden, even though they're smaller than him and they're less experienced fighter, all of a sudden you have someone who can fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might not be as much, but he's used to never having someone throw a punch until they're cornered, whereas in this case, this person might come at him. So I think Freddy would be very apprehensive to any force that was also supernatural. I think in fact, he's probably a coward. He'd probably be terrified. He's just not terrified by humans.
I just want to see him scared, and the red lipstick demon scares the shit out of me, and you know that, John.
Well, and the red lipstick demon too, right? To use my same analogy from before, the red lipstick demon operates in a world where there are other malevolent spirits. Whoa. He's just the one we see operating in that particular movie, right? But even in that movie, they reveal the woman in black.
Yep. And the man who can't breathe. And
we know there are other, but even just in the first movie, we know there's more than one powerful evil entity. In Freddy's universe, for all he knows, he's the only one. The moment he realizes the other, once Highlander realizes there's another immortal, you don't even stop and ask yourself how old they are. Like, wait, there's someone else like me who's cutting off heads, gaining power? This is horrifying.
And the fact
because I could have a bad day. What if I have a cold?
Yep.
When he comes for me.
Cramp.
Right.
A hangover.
Cramp. Like my calves are sore from my workout.
A sprained thumb.
Right.
You're in trouble. I think the red lipstick demon too that I love, it carved itself out its own territory in a world full of horrible, horrible entities. So it has like its block, which I appreciate. All right, so third and foremost, he wrote, what is one director that you'd love to see take on the Nose franchise? So Nathan wrote, if it's going for more goofy horror movie, I think James Gunn would be fun. If they want to make you crap your pants, Guillermo del Toro. For me, I guess I don't know if I'd want to see a del Toro because he would just throw in some... I like a del Toro horror movie, but maybe if he produced it, more of like I don't know, I just... His movies to me, he just throws in like The Wall and Pacific Rim. He throws in over like very obvious metaphors that make sense, but they're kind of clumsy. Like I don't know. I
feel like he does creepy very well, and he does fantasy very well. I don't really feel like he does scary very well.
I don't know how interested he would be.
I don't think he's ever really tried to do scary, to be honest.
And I mean, like he did Mimic, but he complains about that all the time. I mean, Devil's Backbone's very introspective. Kronos,
very creepy.
Very creepy. Yeah. I think he could excel in that. But for me, I'm going to say two people. And they're going to be kind of weird. I'm going to say Oz Perkins, who directed I Am the Pretty Little Thing That Lives in the House, and one of my favorites, The Blackcoat's Daughter, which I think is a modern horror classic. And so I love how he creates an atmosphere and a sense of loss in his movies. And I think it'd be really interesting to see Freddy inhabiting this world where Oz Perkins uses Freddy as more of a Trojan horse to get across a theme that he's using. I think he could make it something really interesting, Freddy. And I think most Freddy purists would hate it, but I would love to see him create that. And then my other pick, which is bonkers and stupid, but like an S. Craig Zoller, who did Bone Tomahawk, Drag Across Concrete. He also did Brawl in Cell Block 99. Oh, crap. I got his graphic novel. I was supposed to review that. So I got to read his new comic book that they sent. I got to write a review for that. But it's the words that would come out of Freddy's mouth, right? The moments of violence and the dialogue, I think, would be exceptional. If I have a feeling I would walk out of a S. Craig Zoller Freddy Kreuger film just floored with visuals I will never forget in my life. So for me, it's all about S. Craig Zoller, just with his dialogue and moments of head smashing, of brutal violence combined, like a poetic bloodbath. And then Oz Perkins, who delights in atmosphere and loneliness and loss. That's what I want.
So while you were answering, I came up with 4 directors. I scrambled. I was scrambling. I came up with 4 directors, none of whom are any of the people you mentioned.
Hey.
But Mark, here's the thing. I think they'd all be such interesting takes. I feel like I should give you my 4, and you should pick 2 from them.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's like a weird inverse draft. Ready? My choices. And this is director, right? So I realize the first choice I'm making, most people have a lot of controversial opinions about this. M. Night Shyamalan.
Absolutely. I think the budget would have to be $10 million, no more.
I think you'd see I think M. Night would bring the kind where it's focused very little on the kills and more on the hunt, the terror, the mythos, the story, the symbols.
Just imagine the atmosphere, right? Just that's a great pick. And also, just remember the orange jumpsuit man from Unbreakable? Mm-hmm. That movie is not a horror film. But no. There's a scene where the guy in the orange jumpsuit.
I'd call it a thriller, though. I'd call it a thriller.
I would say so. But when there's a woman chained to a radiator, and she is woefully skinny.
She's dead.
Beaten, dead. Just out of life. And he's spitting water on her. Like, it's something I'll never forget. It's one of the most affecting things I've ever seen in film.
M. Night has a lot of darkness in him. He just doesn't go full tilt with it. He just wants to give you the surface.
And that hurt.
Of it.
Oh, that hurt so bad.
So that's choice number one, right? Choice number two, I'm thinking mostly about his most recent movie release, The Color Out of Space, Richard Stanley.
Poof. That would be a head trip.
Okay. Okay, to continue.
Can llamas be in it?
Who's that?
Can llamas be in it? Alpacas?
I think that's required. That's probably required. Next choice. Honestly, thinking more Hereditary than anything, but I love the way he weaves it. Ari Aster. He is an emotional gut puncher, and he could dig in to the harrowing and insidious and mean and history like nothing we've ever seen in a Freddy movie.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it would be less about the death scenes, but when the deaths come, they'd probably be like, holy shit, like, very shocking, but it wouldn't bask in them. And then my last choice, Jordan Peele.
Okay, so I got to lose two of them.
You got to lose two of those. Jordan Peele, Ari Aster, Richard Stanley, M. Night. Who are the two that stay?
All right, let's see. I'm losing Ari Aster.
Okay, all right.
I'm dropping him out of there.
M. Night, Richard Stanley, and Jordan Peele.
And I'll drop Stanley. As much as I love it.
That was pretty quick, but I think I agree with you. I do think I agree right away with dropping him. He'd be the first one I'd drop, I think.
All right, now you have to drop one of mine, and I have to drop one further of yours.
Okay, all right. So mine are M. Night and Jordan Peele. Yours, once again?
S. Craig Zoller and Oz Perkins.
No, we're keeping Zoller. I want that Freddy. I want S. Craig Zoller's Freddy.
Okay, so to make it even harder on us, oh gosh.
And now we have two atmosphere-rich people that you got to pick from.
Okay, so I don't want Jordan Peele tackling Freddy because I want him to make more original stories. So if that takes up a year of his time, I don't want it. So I'm gonna do M. Night.
What if that wasn't a factor?
For me,
that was an interesting rationale that you chose, by the way.
I love Get Out, right? I think Get Out is a masterclass on every level, and I love Us. I think just the performances he gets and like the world he creates, and some of the meanness that he has with the kids. But I don't know, man. Just seeing that man with the orange jumpsuit spitting on that lady. Thinking about the scene where the guy sneaks into the room in The Sixth Sense. I mean, the blood-curdling moments in The Happening, which you should listen to. It's one of my favorite MFF episodes. Mm-hmm. Just watching that and the way he handles, Split and just those characters. Now, the only caveat is he can't have more than a $10 million budget. Mm-hmm. M. Night. So I'm going to do M. Night or S. Craig. Karen Kusama could make a good one, too. That'd be interesting.
That, actually... Mark, I wish that I thought of her.
Yeah, I was like, we picked a bunch of dudes.
To be fair, for our default thinking, it's historically.
The horror genre has been not rife.
I mean, if you look in the last 10 years, the Zoska sisters have come into play. Karen Kusama's come into play. There's more, and I forgive me for not thinking of them right now, but there's more, but. Directing in general is historically male dominated. We can't get around it, and so that's what we thought of. But now that
not to get rid of, I think our picks are good though. I think our picks are pretty good though. The moment you said Karen Kusama though, I'm like, holy shit! I wish I thought of her. I would have immediately
booted Ari Aster for her when I gave you my 4.
Well, do you want to do M. Night or Karen?
That's a good call, actually. When I think of what you know what? Okay, I still want to stick with M. Night because I'm more interested in that flavor, even though I don't necessarily think it would make a better movie. That's the thing. I think that Karen's going to give me a more cheeky, stylish Freddy movie. And while that would probably still, because I love Jennifer's Body, and that's what Jennifer's Body is, but I want to see Freddy go a different, intense or atmospheric way, and not just cheeky and stylish done better. So I'm gonna stick with M. Night, even though he might shit the bed with it.
Yeah, it could go. But you know what though? When he misses big, and so even his biggest failures, I find very interesting.
Well, I like his failures. I do generally like his failures
because the original, Airbender and Another Earth, those are not M. Night movies. But Lady in the Water, Village, Happening, he swings originally.
Well, and I actually really like The Village, even though a lot of people hate it.
No, but you know what I mean.
Love The Happening, even though a lot of people hate it. We love them.
Oh yeah, we had a great talk about that. And it doesn't matter who you are. When if he misses big, but when he connects. And so I want to see an S. Craig because I
think I'd favor that over an M. Night. I think I would.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that intensity. And he does atmosphere very well too. It's a very different flavor of dread though. Mm-hmm. But still, I'd like to see that Freddy movie. I feel like there is not an intense Freddy movie. And I feel like he could bring us an emotionally and dreadfully and atmospherically intense, like you are nerve-wracked by scenes.
Yeah. Has Craig Zoller's Nightmare on Elm Street. Oof. I think Logan Marshall Green could be really good.
You know who I almost said, by the way? I almost said David Gordon Green, thinking of the intensity in the recent. How it wasn't quite Rob Zombie, but it tried to marry, even though I didn't like how it worked out, like the ingredients, how it tried to marry Rob Zombie and John Carpenter's Mike Myers kind of.
What about a Takashi Miike?
The thing is, I think that when you do that one, though, it might not even be recognizable to franchise fans, despite the name Freddy Kreuger. But I'd love to see that movie anyway. I'm just going to prioritize that one.
Now, imagine a Park Chan-wook Freddy in the vein of like a Thirst that just puts you through the ringer.
Gore Verbinski.
Oh, yeah. Imagine the look on that.
The Ring and A Cure for Wellness. You know, that's another. Oh, dear.
Yeah, we keep coming up with new ones. I'm still very happy with mine, though. I think S. Craig could do it.
I know. I think that's a very satisfying. I think that's a safe pick for at least something that will be popular after its video release. I don't know if it will be popular in theaters, but I think that it will have lasting power. Whereas Gore Verbinski could be hit or miss, like The Lone Ranger. Kind of thing. I think that Zoller's and M. Night, that's another strong hit or misser. I think Zoller, even though his track record isn't as long, I think it's safer.
Do you think Logan Marshall Green? So he was in The Invitation, he was in Upgrade, Devil,
Prometheus.
I think he could be a good Freddy Kreuger.
It's an interesting choice. He's got very kind eyes.
He'd be more wounded, not outright evil.
Okay. Oh, that's an interesting sell, Mark.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Right. It's less about revenge and more about impulse and need. Something needs to be righted.
Like, I love an Upgrade when he's murdering people and just freaking out about it. I just think he's just wounded, he's angry, and he's just brutal and mean. And then he has an S. Craig Zoller-esque murder scene. Well, that was I got goosebumps now. Thanks a lot, Nathan. I appreciate it, Nathan. Thanks a lot, man. But yeah, so John, I mean, we've covered a lot about this movie. Any final things you want to talk about from this film? Like, how would you rank these three that we've talked about, 3, 4, and 5? Would you put them in that order?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Which
3,
one would
4,
you
5.
watch first?
Well, I like doing things in order. Honestly, I'd probably do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if I wasn't going to do the whole franchise, it would probably be 3, 4, 5.
Got it. No,
or
but
just one.
someone just looks at you and goes, John, 3, 4, 5.
Let's do it.
Which one? No, pick one. Yeah.
For me, it's 3. I think 3 is the best of the most dimensions.
Character-wise, for sure. Yeah.
I still think 3 for characters, but the characters are very likable in 4. It's just that I'm more behind them in 3. I like their stories and their synergy a lot in 3. But 4 did bring a lot, though. 4 brought so much just with, like we talked about, in that high school parking lot early in the movie. They were still really tight.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the circumstances more, I guess. I feel like they worked better with the circumstances in 3. Where Freddy was a known entity. They were already on a team. That really created a lot of favor for me. So it's 3, 4, 5 for me. I think 3 plus 4, or 3 and 4 are both better than 5 for death scenes. I think that's hands down.
I think 5's the best looking. 3 has the best characters. 4 has the most surprising characters. Because I like the people. Like, the weightlifter and Dan, they were nice. They weren't scruffians. I can't think of a better word.
Was it Sheila, the physics nerd?
Yes. Yeah.
Sheila,
and
the
4.
physics nerd?
And, I recently went through all the Friday the 13th films. And in almost all those movies, there's always just, like, the dick. Or, like, the rude blonde. Or just the jerk. Just a kid that you don't like at all. And I don't think there was a single one of those in 3, 4, and 5 on this. So I think the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is stronger on characters for me, but I love Jason much more than Freddy. It's weird, but
Jason or Zombie Jason?
I like all of Jason.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I like Zombie Jason more.
I mean, like the lumbering in the second one, he places a head in a refrigerator, the weird sack, like the evolution. Now, I think it gets better just thinking about the evolution of the character, but nah. If I had to do like the best characters from Nightmare on Elm Street versus the best characters from Friday the 13th, it would be Friday the 13th heavy.
Right.
But well, I like Jason X, but those characters are nothing characters.
If there are any good characters.
There's nothing characters. Well, Brodsky is cool. But yeah, so that's it, man. I mean, I like this movie. I appreciate the direction, the cinematography, the production design. It had no time. People didn't sleep. They probably got too ambitious with it. Not ambitious, but they probably pushed it too far with the TV show and all that, oversaturated the market. But there's elements to this movie that I hope aren't lost. Like, there's good stuff in it.
I think that this one, though, it did succeed on reaching the greatest, I don't know what to call it, emotional range including levity, even though that, like, Freddy wasn't funny. It's not about Freddy. Like in the very beginning, we got to grind our teeth for the paparazzi.
Yeah.
Things like that with Greta. And what I really loved, though, was how Dan's football recruiter that his dad found was in their graduation photo with their parents. Remember how he sat on the chair very proudly after the mothers didn't want to sit next to each other? Like, that was a weird little bit that really stood out to me, because that's not just randomly throwing together a scene. Someone decided to have that football recruiter in there, and then they made it cheeky in a way that it stood out, and no one's sitting there like, why is he even there? Well, he's there because the dad likes him, and he seems to be pretty self-satisfied that he's in this picture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, things like that were really nice. And then way on the other end of the spectrum, again, I'm not talking about Freddy, meanness and levity right now. Never Sleep Again brings up, they want to bring up challenging issues like pregnancy and motherhood. But again, this also, it didn't just bring up pregnancy and motherhood. It brought up abortion. It looked at a child that, I don't know, in air quotes, should have been aborted as being horribly mutilated and monstrous and demonic, with disfigured legs and limbs and face. It took the woman who actually wanted to keep her teen pregnancy and literally brought up litigious action from people who didn't think that she should do that, even though her father was supportive of it. You know what I mean? So it brings up, it's not just throwing this heaviness of motherhood filter over things, which are there, but they're grabbing every contentious dimension of that could possibly happen to anybody in the worst or most challenging sense to this, and again, the father dies. What do you do? Even just that notion. So I think it's interesting that, again, so they cover that. And then again, the graduation, just something as light as that football recruiter. They do a good job capturing that, even though overall this is a very heavy movie. It still gives you those moments.
I definitely think it's better than where it's rated, but I understand the ratings.
It gets a bad rap. I think that if you weren't allowed to rate part 4 and 5 unless you watch part 3, 4, and 5 together, I think that the ratings of 4 and 5 would all be better.
Yeah.
Especially 5.
4 is almost fresh, which is crazy. 4 is almost there. And I know that's not the be-all, end-all.
It's so fun. It's because it's so fun, right? It makes up for a lot because it's so fun. Even though that beach scene shouldn't be there,
that's
right?
weird.
It shouldn't be there, but whatever. It's fun, and he puts on sunglasses, and there's a shark fin glove, right? But it's like, why is this here?
Reddest greenest, my hand is like a shark fin.
Right, Reddest greenest. Listen to the Deep Blue Sea podcast. I'm in episode 17.
Yeah, 2 of them. 2 of them. You had a bonus episode for that. Well, this was fun, man. Thank you for joining me, and I'm glad that we were able to unpack this, because I really didn't know how I was going to get my head around it, but I'm really happy with how this went. This was good.
Yeah, I'm going to say, like, of all the notes that I didn't talk about, this is one of the movies where I didn't talk about a huge amount of notes, and it's okay. It's just that I've got such a laundry list of things.
Well, we didn't even bring up Jacob.
Right? Yeah. I mean, right. The kid. I mean, we didn't even bring up Jacob.
Yeah. Her kid.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, we didn't barely talk about Freddy on skateboards. Freddy's a non-entity in this movie for me, though.
I think you're right. No, I think you're right. Because again, his kills aren't really there. His personality is pretty weak. Comparatively.
Yeah. I compare nothing. I care nothing about Freddy in this movie. Nothing. Nothing he does makes me. The only thing I liked is when he acts scared, and that was a neat moment. That's
momentarily. Yeah. Well, again, it was more about Alice and Amanda Kreuger and her connection to her unborn son, regardless of, by the way, the Jacob character. But then the Jacob character was good. That was kind of creepy. It was very interesting the way that they did that. By the way, I love that special effects gag when Jacob uses his power of the souls when Freddy gave him the souls, obviously throughout the movie, he uses that, he weaponizes that against Freddy. And then just like in part 4, we see the souls erupting their limbs and their faces from his body and restraining him and tearing him apart. And this one, it's a weird visual. It's almost like when you see an eyeball come out in a horror movie with the eyeball like with the optic nerve connecting into the socket. And they look like these things. Remember in the 90s there were these horror themed balls.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Like baseballs with like
balls. And
angry
someone should
faces.
Just like Google this stuff. I really wish I knew what they were called, like monster balls or something. But it had like a caricaturized face of each of his 3 victims from the movie, right? Kind of like Garbage Pail Kids. And they're just tearing out of him, like pulling at him like dogs on a dog sled. I don't know. It was awesome, but it was a really weird visual. But
Monster Balls. That's the name of them.
Monster Balls, that's what they were called? Monster Balls?
20 Forgotten Toys. Puppy Surprise. Here, let me go down. My Pet Monster. Nope. Let me go. Remember 2XL? Pogs. Yeah, Monster Balls. That's the name.
Monster Ball. You know what else I loved was Boglins, which were like puppets. But by the way, listeners, we mentioned over and over and over again, Never Sleep Again. That documentary about the whole franchise and the show is on YouTube in its entirety.
Oh, Mad Balls.
Mad Balls. Okay, Mad Balls. They even had like a Jason-like face. I think there was a hockey mask-like face. there was like a zombie or a Frankenstein-like phase. They were weird things, but that's what those things made me think of. But yeah, no, the kid had a good arc though, and you know, we don't need to get into it too much. There's so much stuff to talk about in this movie. We didn't talk about the opening. The opening is very interesting.
Oh,
actually,
yeah, with all the actors or the maniacs raping her.
It's like, listeners, we didn't talk about the asylum. We didn't talk about the sex scene in the beginning. We didn't talk about their interesting trend in shower scenes.
The Captain Ron scene where she gets locked in.
Right. We didn't talk about Freddy's resurrection scene and transformation scene. There's so much. The claymation of food rotting was cool. There's so much going on in this movie. They jammed a lot into this.
Him calling people bitch a lot.
He does that. That apparently bothered the actress playing Amanda Kreuger.
Yeah, my son was calling me a bitch. No,
yeah, but there's a lot in here, and I mean, we're picking our high points, and honestly, I think we could have pivoted and we could have gone a totally different way and not talked about 10 things that we talked about, and gone and talked about 10 other things.
Lisa Wilcox as Alice, I think she really stepped it up. She felt a lot more comfortable in this role. Mm-hmm. I liked her a lot. The more I talk about it, the more I like it, I guess. It's visually arresting. It was rushed, but there's flaws to it, but it still has the ideas there. And even though the one writer who wrote the original script is like, they killed it. Like, get over yourself, dude. Like, you're getting paid and you're on this documentary. Like, you're sour grapes. You're throwing sour grapes at your horror film, your sophisticated horror script with a big budget action scenes didn't work out. That's not Friday the 13th. Like, right? Be realistic. It got made, at least. But I don't know. Yeah, no, you're right. There's a lot we didn't cover, but I think I'm happy where we're at, though, man. We did it. I'm proud of this. Any last thing you want to get out before we are out of here?
You know, I used to view this, even though I always, was well aware of 3, 4, 5, they're a continuous story, and all the others aren't. Really, even though 1 and 3 kind of try to connect. But that aside, I used to view 5 as so vastly inferior among the first 5, or even the first 6, to be honest. I used to very regularly, as a teen and my 20s, even most of my 30s, which is almost over, view 5 as vastly inferior. And more recently, I don't. More recently, I'm going to put it above, your Freddy's Dead. I think it's way above a Freddy's Dead. I think it's way above a Freddy versus Jason, even though Freddy versus Jason is more fun. Again, like so many movies that we have discussed, I like it more when I watch it more. And most viewers, even most listeners we have, will not watch these movies enough times, and let alone in succession. They're not going to geek out on it as much as we do to find that. But it's there. So if that sways whether or not you listeners decide to do a Freddy marathon or a mini Freddy marathon and watch 3, 4, and 5 in close succession, I hope you do make that decision. And I hope that you do see that your 4 is richer than you thought, even though it's always been a blast, and that your 5 is much richer than you thought, even though you probably thought it sucked. It's a movie that relies on the franchise's past more.
If I had to watch one of them, you changed my mind. If I had to watch one of them right now, I'd do 5 because I want to pause it and take pictures. I don't want to watch 3 again. I don't want to do 3. It hurts too much.
It's not a feel-good movie.
No, and it hit me hard, but I'm not going back to that. So I would do 5 then 4. I would. It's kind of weird, but I think 5's the shortest too. That kind of led to me wanting to watch it again.
It's an easy one. I don't think any of them are long, are they?
No, they're all like 90 minutes. But no, it was fun. Well, thank you for joining me, man. All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for John Levengood, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.